Hi, welcome to Reawakening Beauty. I'm your host, Shawna Patruno. I'm so excited to have you here. I love talking about all things skin related, beauty related, and mind related. Here I empower you, mind, body, skin, and soul. Hey everyone, welcome to Reawakening Beauty. So today is a very special episode, a beauty episode with Abby, which I'll have her introduce herself.
Thank you, Shawna, for having me on your podcast today. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Nurse Abby Kang. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for over 20 years. I've worked in the hospital care setting, in intensive care, cardiology settings, and also in the community. I've been working as an aesthetic nurse for the past 6 years, where my passion absolutely lies. Working with people's faces, helping them through their anti aging journey is a true honor. It's something that I absolutely look forward to every single day when I wake up. It is not only a passion, I'm happy that my passion has become my work. And I love meeting people. So it's introduced me to some lovely clients who have become my good friends.
And Abby, you have so much to say about the beauty world because there's a lot of mishaps kind of happening in there, which we're going to dive into a little bit deeper today. So, the first question I actually have for you, Abby, today is how could someone avoid looking over injected or unnatural with dermal fillers? Because I feel like this is a really big thing that happens in the beauty environment.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of pictures on social media of celebrities that have gone kind of overboard the
Yeah.
threshold of dermal fillers and they end up looking so unnatural. So, how do we, and it's completely avoidable. And
Mhm.
some of the key things to remember is number one, going to an injector has a clear understanding of the facial anatomy and understands the aging patterns. It's not just about learning the anatomy where everything sits, which is very important, but it's knowing how our skin ages, what parts and what levels of our skin age. Do our deeper fat pads age sooner and start to decline before our superficial fat pads and tone decline? Our bone starts to shrink. And just knowing all of that, losing collagen, that's very important for an injector to know and to treat because it really depends on where the filler goes. So if you understand the anatomy, you'll understand which plane of the face to treat with derma fillers. So that's very important. And then I would say right up there is knowing which filler goes in which area. All fillers are not the same. Some fillers draw a lot of water, other fillers tend to stay very structured and chiseled. Just knowing which filler goes into which plane of the face can avoid some of the complications of lumpiness, puffiness, and overfilled.
Wow. I think so many people don't realize that. They just go to an injector and they think like, oh, it's just going to help me. But if they do it incorrectly, they could be really messing up your face. Which brings me to my next question. What are the most common mistakes people make when getting derma fillers for the first time?
I feel like for first time clients, when they come in, they've set their expectations so high that they feel like fillers is going to solve all of their anti aging concerns, right? And especially with one syringe, right? They'll
Yeah.
come in, it's like, I want one syringe and just lift my face, right? And that is one of the concerns that we as injectors have to really sit down with clients, listen to them, understand them, listen to their goals, but also to educate them and letting them know what the extent and limitations of dermal fillers are. We can treat you with derma fillers. However, if you have poor quality of skin, we need to address that with either lasers or building collagen with other treatments, right? So just educating the client, first time clients on derma fillers and their limitations is very important. Also, I want to add following trends. Treatments that go viral on IG or TikTok, that happens every second. So we've had the fox eye, we've had Russian lips, the snat jaw, the trap Botox, Morpheus 8, and everyone comes in wanting those treatments, but they have to realize that those treatments may not be suited for you and your facial anatomy, right?
Right.
So just educating, it comes down to, again, educating our clients about this and just knowing that these aren't just beauty treatments, these are medical procedures, right? That are done by medical professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so many people forget that. They come in and they're just wanting, so many people are just doing fillers just out of the gate, and they don't realize like this is actually a medical procedure. You're injecting things into your face, or you're doing a
Exactly.
laser that
Mm.
can dissolve fat, which we could talk about another time. Yes, we'll have to have you back for that. But I think people don't realize the complications. So it's super important to obviously find the proper nurse injector. So, what would you say to someone when they're looking for someone to do their treatments?
I would say I think a lot of people do try to do their research. Every time I get a client, they've looked at my reviews, they've looked at my credentials, and I think that's very important. But one of the things I also say is look for someone that treats faces on a full time basis rather than a side hustle. It's important that their focus is full time. This ensures that the one nurse that's injecting has the confidence and delivers consistent and safe and natural looking results. It's all about experience.
I would agree because there's a lot of doctors that I've seen who are just like they'll have a practice and then they'll also be doing injections part time. So that makes a
Yes.
big difference. 'Cause
Absolutely. Yeah, or cases, right? They might just be there's clinics that only do lips part time, but they may not have done a lot of under eye treatments or jaw treatments. So once you find someone that does this on a full time basis, we have seen everything, we've treated everything. So, and there's confidence in that because we have experience in treating those on a regular basis.
That's amazing. I wanted to circle back to something you had said about the different dermal fillers and how do they compare and how do you decide which one is right for each person? Because I think that's something that's kind of most people are like, they just want their lips done. Is there different treatment products that you would use for different types of lips and that kind of thing? How do you decide that?
That's a very good question. I think even for clients and injectors out there, there are a lot of different brands of fillers on the Canadian market, from Juvederm, Restylane, Teoxin, Stylage, and others. So it can get confusing for some clients because they don't know or they're looking for a clinic with just a specific brand. And what I say to you is look for a clinic that has several brands because not all fillers are alike. Each brand has its own lineup of fillers, and it varies from properties like thickness, flexibility, lift capacity, and how it integrates into tissues. For example, Brand A's high G prime filler, so that means it's firm and it provides structure, differs from brand B's high G prime filler. So I would inject into a client where I want contour and a chiseled look, and it's high G prime. But brand B's high G prime, I might use for someone where I do want that lift capacity, but I don't want that chiseled look because their skin quality doesn't support that chiseled look. So they're
Wow.
both high G prime, but they act differently in your skin. So having different brands in your toolbox, in your clinic, you can provide more customized treatments to your clients based on their anatomy and goals. So I select filler not by brand, but because of the different, I customize it to clients' needs. And one brand does not satisfy and meet all of the clients' needs.
That makes sense. So even though it says it's the same thing, they're a little bit different.
Absolutely. So one filler from brand A with the same composition could be different from brand B. And when I look at you coming in, I'd say, you know what? I feel like this brand kind of spreads a little too much. I need to add a little bit more structure to your lip. So I'm going to use this one from brand B. But if you only have brand A in your toolbox, it doesn't really meet your anatomies,
Yeah. And
right?
and I
So
think a lot of people don't realize that. They just go in and they don't realize that there's different options.
feel like this is where brand companies come in and they take their nurses on trips and so on because they want them to use only their brand in the clinic, and you get sucked in with these buying options. If you buy more, it's less, and then you're stuck. Some of the injectors out there can't afford to buy from two, three different brands. There is a cycle out there that I feel like it's not fair for clients really. And I feel like it needs to be easier for nurses to buy from different brands and have different options for clients.
I definitely agree. I see that also on the other side of the beauty industry, like a lot of like schmoozing and talking to like get certain products in your office and like that kind of thing. Cause I've worked on the cosmetic side of it. And same thing, like they'll give you gifts and stuff if you're promoting certain companies. So working with
Exactly.
a brand or a person like yourself who is more reputable, who knows that kind of thing and always has the client's interest rather than what they're taking in their own pockets, you know?
It's again a medical treatment. So we cannot be biased towards one brand at all on any healthcare professional. So I keep my options open and it's really what's best interest for the client sitting in my chair.
Now, this brings me to a question. We kind of hit on it, but I want to circle back to it is how long do dermal fillers last? And you know, it's probably going to be different. And also, if someone's been mistreated, because that's a common, what do you recommend if they've been injected with the wrong type of filler and now it's kind of messed their face up?
And it happens. Sadly, it really does happen. That's a wonderful question. Let's break it down into two parts. So, how long does filler last? That's a question that a lot of people are actually really concerned about these days because there's information out there that, oh my gosh, filler lasts forever, lasts 10 years, and they'll come in and be very concerned. And my thing is, well, oh, it's only an issue if the filler has moved and it doesn't look good,
Mhm.
right? Then we talk about dissolving. But if filler is in there and it's lasted so long and it's not becoming infected or it's not traveling or moving, displacing anywhere else in your face, then there's really no issues with having it in your face for that long. But it really does depend on a few things. There are fillers that are thicker and they tend to last longer than thinner fillers, like skin boosters.
Mhm.
Your metabolism and lifestyle factors like stress and exercise also affect how long fillers last. Sun exposure and skincare can also affect how long fillers last. But generally, they last anywhere from 6 months to 2 years and sometimes more. And areas that have a lot of movement, like lips and mid face, tend to break down filler faster, while other areas like jawline and lateral cheeks can hold filler longer.
Okay. That makes
Just to keep them hydrated, which will extend the longevity of fillers, and avoiding excessive sun will also help extend the longevity of your fillers.
And then what would you say for somebody when they're mistreated, once they have
Mhm.
been injected by somebody who wasn't maybe as knowledgeable, didn't understand this person's anatomy or their skin type or what would be best for them? What would you say to that person who now is like fearful and now they look maybe not?
And that's really sad because you go in wanting to look kind of better than you had gone in, more refreshed, more rejuvenated. And then you leave and you're just heartbroken because they weren't results that you were expecting or too much was done. And that really does happen. Good news is that most fillers can be dissolved with an enzyme called hyaluronidase. We can dissolve the filler, wait 2 weeks, and then usually I then re-inject using my principles of the right filler in the right area, less is more philosophy. Sometimes, I'm very conservative with my hyaluronidase and what I dissolve, what I don't, because hyaluronidase can open up a Pandora's box. So unless it's absolutely offensive and I'm like, yes, this is not a good job, I feel like that's when I would say, let's start fresh. Let's start over.
That would definitely make sense because I think you said sometimes it can dissolve like your own hyaluronic acid if someone doesn't know what they're doing.
And that's why I'm very conservative with it because it doesn't really, hyaluronidase doesn't differentiate between hyaluronic acid from a filler than what's your own hyaluronic acid. So it does dissolve and break down hyaluronic acid. So I'm very conservative and it really depends on situation by situation, but it is dissolvable. So nothing to worry about.
Okay, perfect. So that's how you would fix them is dissolving it and then re-injecting so that they're a little bit more aesthetically what they were looking for in the first place. And do you have like consultations with each of your clients before they kind of go in and decide? because they might have this image, like they pull up a model or something and they're like, I want to look more like this person, but you're like, your face doesn't do that. Would you have like a consultation with them?
Consultations are the most important part of our injection process. It's where you build trust in both ways. You get to know the client gets to know you. It works both ways. But from an injector's perspective, it's very important to sit down and listen to the client, what they would like, what they're looking for. If they bring in pictures, yes, it's important to look at them and kind of educate them to see if this is going to fit you or if this is not the best course to, and then give them all the information that they need during a consultation to make the most informed decision for themselves. And I go into fillers, different areas. Maybe you need a combination treatment, and maybe fillers aren't the right thing at some point for some clients. It's like maybe surgical intervention is the most best suited treatment for you. So I like to give our clients all of the options in a consultation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there things that people should avoid doing before and after they like receive fillers? And then we'll get into other treatments after we kind of talk about this one.
There is definitely before and after care that we advise our clients. I always let them know avoid before the treatments, avoid anything that increases bruising or bleeding risk. That includes alcohol, Advil, vitamin E, aspirin, fish oils, and other herbal supplements like garlic for at least 24 to 48 hours prior to injections. There's nothing like me working on a Sunday and I have clients come in and they've partied on a Saturday and have alcohol, and they hide it from me because they want their lips done. But as soon as I put my first poke and it starts bleeding, the lips start bleeding, I know that there's alcohol in their body. And it's really hard to inject because it having alcohol thins your blood, it increases swelling, and we're competing with that swelling,
Oh,
right? So it's hard to kind of inject and know and what's our filler, what is swelling. So highly, it's very important to not have blood thinning agents in your body prior to your injections, at least 24 to 48 hours.
makes sense. So we've talked a lot about fillers and side effects and all of those, but what are other treatments? I heard you talk a little bit about stem cells and fat grafting and other things that are on the market. What would you say about these treatments for somebody as alternatives to filler, or would you say they work in partnership to it?
Stem cells and grafting are wonderful treatments, and they're more regenerative medicine. Like they help the body heal and repair itself rather than just filling or freezing signs of aging, right? Fat grafting is always an alternative I talk about with my filler clients that, this is what derma fillers do. They're very convenient, they're easy, low downtime,
Mhm.
and we can erase them if you don't like them. Fat grafting is a bit different, right? It involves fat from an area of your body, usually the abdomen or the thighs. You purify it and then have it re injected into areas of your face like temples, cheeks, lips, really anywhere filler would go to volumize those areas. This is done in a plastic surgeon's office,
Mm.
right? And the great thing about fat grafting is that it's natural because it's your own fat. The results are longer lasting than derma fillers. And it also brings in those regenerative properties because fat contains stem cells that improve skin quality over time. But there's a downside
Okay.
because the results are not predictable. Only on average, about 40 to 60% of the transferred fat survives, and the rest of it gets resorbed by your body, which makes the results less predictable, unlike derma fillers,
Oh,
right? So you're not sure if it's going to last, how much of it is going to go away. So surgeons will over inject during the surgery, right? They'll overfill to take into account for the resorption, but it could lead to a puffy face if more filler survives than expected. So, number one, we're not too sure is it going to survive. But on the other hand, if it survives and they've overinjected, now you're left with a puffy face. So, it's unpredictable.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And just like fillers, it has its pros and cons, and just trying to find out what is the best option for the client and just giving them those pros and cons for both. There's longer downtime with fat injections as well.
Okay.
And the cost is a bit more than dermal fillers.
How much is it typically for fat grafting versus like fillers?
Let's say we've done a full face of fillers. We've done your cheeks, under eyes, jaw. That can be 3 to 4, maybe $5,000 in some clinics, right? Fat grafting can go up from 7 to 10
Wow. Okay.
dollars. And that's from my own personal experience getting quotes from different surgeons. I did go this year and
Mhm.
I had quotes from several really amazing plastic surgeons in Ontario. I think at the end, when I weighed everything, I felt like right now I'll do another round after I'm 46 years old. So I feel like I'm ready for a nip and tuck. But I think just going around and speaking to surgeons, I ended up doing fillers again.
Mhm.
I'll wait until 50 maybe and we'll revisit fat grafting. But just at this point in my life, I don't think I was ready for the unpredictable nature of fat grafting.
That makes sense. And when you're a little bit more mature, you lose more of that bone structure and all
Exactly.
of those things where you probably might need it more, but you look amazing. So,
Oh, thank
whatever
you.
you're doing is working. So,
There's me.
yeah. With stem cells, like, can you do facials with stem cells or anything other facials that you would recommend with stem cells, or how did it?
Absolutely. Like stem cells are our body's master repair cells. So they repair and regenerate and heal tissues. So microneedling with products containing stem cells or exosomes that are byproducts of stem cells, those have high anti-inflammatory properties. So they are wonderful products to do microneedling with. They boost collagen as well and thicken your skin. So, yes, stem cells do have a place. In other parts of the world, you can have IV stem cells, but it's highly experimental and not approved in Canada. But yes, microneedling with stem cell products is wonderful treatment.
Amazing. So I'm going to ask you something that I hold very dear to my heart is the use of vitamins and skin products and how that can help your skin because I really believe what you're eating does impact your skin. What would you say on the use of skincare products and vitamins and where does that have a place?
I think I that's absolutely true. I believe beauty is from the inside out, right? Whatever you put inside your body or what you're feeling affects the outside of your body. So if you're under a lot of stress, you show it in your skin. If you're eating healthy, you will show that glow on the outward. So number one, I am and everyone will say this, such a cliche now, but I hope it sticks to everyone. Please, please, please wear sunscreen.
Yes.
That is so important. I go even further by having physical blockages of sun by using a sun umbrella, a hat, and gloves for my hands. But sunscreen, SPF 50 all year round. I have a lot of windows in my home, so I do wear it at home as well. And because I avoid the sun, I do take vitamin D supplements for getting that internal boost of vitamin D that we really need for anti inflammatory purposes as well. That is a very important supplement. Collagen peptides.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of study that supports it, but the studies that do, I believe in. So I do take my collagen every morning in my tea, along with vitamin C, which helps synthesize collagen in our body as well.
Amazing. That's perfect. Now, Abby, was there any questions that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you or you wanted to touch base before we kind of wrap up today?
I think you asked some really good questions. I love the fact that you asked about derma fillers. There's so many different kinds, and I think that's where the problem lies is an injector not knowing what kind of filler to use in what plane of the face. I feel like that is my message that I want to hit home. That is what's causing the overfilled and over-injected looks. And yes, too much is the obvious reason, but also not having the right type of filler in the right plane of the face. I think that is the message I want to hit home. It's just finding an injector that knows their fillers really well.
Now, Abby, where can they find you, like on social media or in general, if they want to take a peek at what you're doing?
I would love to meet you. You can always find me. I have a clinic here in Oakville, Ontario. And otherwise, please do follow. I'd love to meet you on Instagram at Aesthetic House. It's HAUS dot body and face.
Amazing. I'll have it linked in the show notes. So if
Oh,
you,
thank you so much.
yeah,
Okay.
no worries. Thank you so much for diving deeper. And I would love to have you back, maybe talking a little bit about lasers, because that's a whole other topic,
A
like
lot
around.
of opinions on lasers. Yes.
Yes. And go check out Abby and tune in for this episode, whether it's morning or night. We appreciate you and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Reawakening Beauty. Subscribe to the podcast to hear more inspirational stories and tips related to all things mind, beauty, skin, and soul. I also encourage you to check out the show notes for additional information about my guest, the topics discussed during the episode, and of course, more information about me, your host, Shawna Patruno. If you want to be a guest on the show or just want to reach out and say hi, you can reach me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or email. All these details can be found in my show notes. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing day.